First of all, thank you. Glad to be here. Pops, I'm coming to join you. Happy you having a happy birthday. Boy, I tell you, this has been a fun weekend. It's been a fun weekend. Had to go to a coaching ceremony. You know, they're supposed to have it on Friday. Then send the email out. Or at least I didn't get it. Had to be there at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. This man had us running around like we were 6, 7, 8-year-old kids. Yeah, we were really running. He had us doing drills like we were doing drills for the kids, showing us videos and stuff. Then had these little kids come over and play with us. First of all, I was not going to get on the field with little Parker because the boy's name was Parker, but he kept saying Parker. I wanted to get the tranquilizer gun, for real, because, yeah, he going to be labeled when he gets older. Basically, I just had a great weekend, nonetheless. A lot of fun. Pops celebrated his birthday the whole weekend. Today is his actual birthday. Dad, I love you. Thank you for having me, taking care of me for 40 years. If you can put me back on your insurance, it'd be even better. So, I'm just saying. Anyway, Dad, I love you. Holla at you, holla.
Carlton Banks is not unusual. Thank you so much, brother. Big Rube. It's time for the smash, my brother. What you got?
Big Rube. It's a smash. You know, life is fleeting sometimes, and you don't realize when it's time to go. But then it's always good when they bring you back. For those of you who do not know, last week on WWE Raw, the King himself, Jerry Lawler, had a stroke on TV. And from what I understand, he fell over his chair to the ground. He momentarily passed away. They had to hit him with the electrics 6 times and brought him back. And he is defibrillator. Thank you. It brought him back, and he's on his way home today to Memphis, Tennessee. You know, a lot of people talk about how wrestling's fake and what it is. It is what it is, but it's entertainment. But when you see something like that, you know, it really reminds you how real this is. Such as, I think it was like 10, 12 years ago, maybe even 14, when Owen Hart passed away at a pay-per-view. He was coming down to jump in the ring, and he came down, and unfortunately, he landed in a bad place, and he is no longer with us. I laugh at people when they say, oh, wrestling's fake, wrestling's that, blah, blah, blah. No joke. It is fake. It's all about entertainment. That's what it does. That's why it's called World Wrestling Entertainment. But you know what? When you see something real happen, you really have to sit back and really just think, wow, stuff affects them just like it affects me. When my grandmother passed away 7 years ago, on the day after Christmas, it snowed. I mean, it was time for her to go. Woke up and it snowed. So, with that being said, everybody needs to make sure that you tell the people that you love them. You need to let them know that you love them, because you never know. Sometimes 6 defibrillator shots may not bring them back. But as long as they know that you love them, they'll always forever be in your heart. It's Big Rube. It's a smash. I'm out.
That was good, man. And it was funny that you mentioned the King, because Carlton Banks and Big Rube and I, we've been friends for 15 years, and we were together the night that Owen Hart died. We were the three of us were together along with B and a couple of our other friends. And I just remember, you know, when Jim Ross came back to the mic and he said, we've had a tragedy, Owen Hart has died. Like, he said it on the pay-per-view, and I remember thinking, he's clowning, like you said. And when something real happens, you know, and as we continued to watch the pay-per-view, I was just struck with, like, why are they still going on with it? But, you know, they say the show must go on. But I just remember feeling, even back then, that it was real cold. And wrestling, just for me personally, literally died that day. It hasn't been the same for me since then. So I appreciate you taking your rant there, because that was heartfelt. And I was actually watching last week, and I saw the aftermath of what happened with the King. So, you know, that's real stuff. So, ain't no have Steppin, Marcus, James. Go ahead and end the show here by kind of sharing my moment, my little rant, my Merv, whatever it is you guys like to call it. Just kind of start off by talking about myself a little bit. I'm a relatively young man. Still feel good. Still got the baby face. I can still run. I can still play with mama. You know, I still get caught at buying beer. I still don't have a beard. I got like 1 or 2 gray hairs, you know. There are very few areas where I feel old. I'd feel old if I was an athlete because at 38, unless my name was Derek Jeter, I'm either retired or pretty close to being retired. I'm a young man, except when it comes to hip hop. I love hip hop, okay? I love it. I love the beats. I love the rhymes. I love the personalities. I love the fashion. I love the songs. And up to about the year 2000, I pretty much loved everything that came out. You know, there have been a few bangers since then. Jay-Z had the Blueprint in '01 and the Black Album in '03, and Ludacris's best 3 albums all came out between 2000 and '03. Pretty much anything Eminem has ever done in his career to me was hot. To me, my opinion. Sure, there have been some pretty good cats that have come out since 2000. I just chose to kind of reference those guys. But people in my general age group are spoiled because of our age. People in our general age group, in my opinion, we came up through the best years of hip hop. The peak years. 88 to 89, peak years. The reemergence, 93 to 94. Let's kind of talk about that for a minute. 88, 89 alone gave you seminal albums from Public Enemy, Run DMC, MC Hammer, Boogie Down Productions, NWA, Salt and Pepper, Eric B. and Rakim, Queen Latifah, LL Cool J, DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, MC Lyte, Rob Bass, Biz Markie, Big Daddy Kane, whose classic Ain't No Half Steppin' inspired the name of our show, just to name a few. In that group, you had socially conscious rappers, and you know that's close to my heart. You had hard rock with your Run DMCs. You had gangsters with NWAs. You had your feminists with Light and Lie and Salt and Pepper. You had party rappers with Hammer and Fresh Prince. Rappers you can listen to with your moms and your grandmoms. And for the most part, most of us fans agreed that they was all, you know, pretty dope. As the years progressed, you saw many of those aforementioned rappers begin to fade to black and hip-hop. Many of them stayed relevant in other areas such as print, media, social activism, film. Many of those rappers, of course, are still relevant today. And by the time 93, 94 came along, the scope of hip-hop had changed from the diversity and the fun of the 80s to the grit and the glamour of the 90s. But many of those rappers still left their imprint during that period. I give you the Wu-Tang Clan. I give you the Notorious B.I.G., I give you Arrested Development, Tupac, Nas. I give you Onyx, Snoop Dogg, Redman. I even give you the Brat. While their styles are more aligned to each other, showing less diversity than their 80 counterparts, their impacts were felt and still could be seen in some of these rappers you see today. Grit of groups like Wu-Tang and Onyx showing up in the styles of the likes of Ricky Ross. The blueprint of cannabis love shown by Snoop and Redman coming out Wiz Khalifa and the I don't give a care attitude of Tupac clearly all over the style of someone like 50 Cent. So I say it again, I am a young man, except when it comes to hip hop, because when I was younger, if I was socially conscious, I went to Public Enemy and BDP and Arrested Development. Today, yeah, I don't know who the hell I'm going to today. When I want to listen to the sexy sisters rhyme about femininity and empowerment and straight up boastfulness about how they can hold their own with the fellas, I had Salt and Pepper and I had Light and I had Lie. Today they got Nicki Minaj as the standard bearer. Not exactly lighting up my Walkman. When I wanted to hear some straight gangster stuff, I turned on NWA and Tupac. Today they got a guy who used to be a corrections officer turned into a gangster rapper by taking the name of one of the most prolific and notorious drug dealers in modern history. Of course, that man was Freeway Ricky Ross. I'm looking for diversity in game and lyrics and beats, not a bunch of cats that all seem to be carbon copies of the days of yesteryear. Kind of like when they replaced Mike Evans with Damon Evans on the Jeffersons. You know, Damon did the best he could, but eventually they had to go back to Mike because, you know, he was the real Lionel. Kind of wishing for that new Eric B. and Rakim album, but I ain't settling for Lil Wayne. For the final time, I had to say it. I'm a young man, but except when it comes to hip-hop. That's the Marcus's unrelated rant that ain't got nothing to do with what we talking about here tonight. That's the end of the show. I want to say make sure you go out, make sure your paperwork is straight. It's going to be time to vote in just about 6 weeks. Make sure you at the polls, get your vote cast. Make sure that the one that you want leading the free world has your vote. I want to say peace to all the stars and all the squares. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. In the words of Bob Marley, in the abundance of water, the fool is thirsty. Be back next week. Peace.